Welcome to episode 96 of The Bar is Ankle High, your weekly ADHD podcast that explores life's low bars with wit and wisdom. I'm Katie.
I'm Garrett. Sorry for yelling that.
And I'm also Sarah.
No, we want you to yell it.
If you want ad-free and extended and video episodes, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/thebarisAnkleHigh. You get all those things plus like stickers and shit from us in the mail and an on-air shout out. And all I can say, folks, is that I did take my meds today, but they're not hitting. And I don't know what to do. I've had protein, I've had carbs. We're stuck with what we're stuck with. Yeah. I don't know. But this week, we are joined by Sarah Spellman, who you might recognize from being here this time last year, where we were talking about queerness and ADHD. But this year, because it's 2024 and maybe the world is exploding, we're going to talk about election stuff because, well, it's timely and I kind of get overwhelmed with it.
I feel like I need to be in a medically induced coma from now until like Christmas, so I don't have to deal with the election cycle.
Can you do an absentee ballot when you're in a coma?
Ooh, I don't know. I'm gonna ask though.
I feel like you'd have to fill out the absentee ballot and then be put into a coma.
Yeah, and then somebody can just like mail it.
Yeah, like you'd have to complete the task and then you can enter a coma.
Your power of attorney can't do it for you?
I actually don't know if your power of attorney could sign about. That sounds kind of sketchy. Like, if
that's an interesting question,
I feel like
though.
they can't, but I also feel like you can put anything into those that you want. So
yeah, like I feel like you could. I
really love the attorney being like, "Can a power of attorney?" And us being like, "I don't know, Katie.
I'm not that kind of lawyer."
Yeah, Katie, you're the one that went to law school.
Taxes. I need help with taxes.
As I've said, it is a miracle I graduated.
The confidence. Katie talking to her boss. It's a miracle I graduated from law school. I say it all the time.
I don't know how I got out of there, but I did pass the bar on the first try.
That's impressive.
That is impressive.
Yeah,
That's
and when
really...
I took it, it was an open book. Now the bar exam is open book. So
wow,
I feel like I could pass that.
I don't.
If I could have a book with all the answers,
I couldn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not totally clear. I don't know. I don't know if it's just the New York portion that's open book or if the whole thing is, but either way.
That was really funny. Can a power attorney vote? I don't know. Yeah, I'm dreading this, like, really, because it's starting to pick up now, and I'm like, oh, this sucks.
I keep getting also, like, where I live, I keep getting visits from people, like, who want my vote.
I hate that.
Yeah.
You have to be nice to those people. They're usually volunteers.
Yeah.
And
oh, no, the actual candidates have come to my door.
Oh, that's actually really impressive.
Yeah.
Considering that, like, that's probably, like, a decent amount of walking that they'd have to do. I've ruined many of sneakers campaigning.
Yeah.
So.
I'm not cut out for canvassing like that. Like,
I did it once as a volunteer, and it's horrible. It's so hot out. I can't do it.
Yes.
You know, I worked sales, and I just don't... I don't like the
I would
seeking
rather
people
do
out thing.
Canvassing than sales. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
Well, so
I
was so right out of undergrad. One of my first jobs was I was like a fundraiser for a political organization. So like the people in New York City with the clipboard, and I'm just there waving. Just be like, "Hi, do you have a quick minute? Do you have a quick minute?"
Like run me over with a bus.
Yeah. So then that, and then it was physical. Then we did actual like campaigning, so like door to door for an election. And that was fun because the second people would, I'm like out in like deep Long Island at this point. Once they find out, they're like, oh, is your candidate pro-choice or pro-life? And I'm like, they're most likely pro-choice. Like, I haven't had a direct conversation with them, but like, chances are they probably are. Door slam, just instantly. And I'm like, Cool. Thanks for your time. Have a good one.
Which is weird because a lot of Long Island people are very anti-extra brown people. So you'd think that they'd be pro-choice for non-whites.
You'd be surprised the
It's
way
a lot
that
of things
people
that don't make sense.
can really just like flex themselves into these like real
Twist themselves into a
backflips.
pretzel.
Yeah, and it's
to make
just
something
like,
work.
Okay, buddy, if that's comfortable for you, you keep doing what you're doing. Who am I?
Can we talk about how it's just a real mind fuck that we had such a horrific 2020 election and now we're having a redo of the same bullshit? Like, how
I'm not even
did
old
these
enough to
two
be president
parties
yet.
And there's
Just to be
protests
clear,
how did they not
again.
get their
like,
shit
it's
together?
so mirrored to 2020. Like there's
Yes.
protests. The only difference is like we're not locked down,
Yeah.
but there's protests about like significant harm coming to large groups of people.
Yep.
And like yeah, it's very frustrating.
It is, you're right. Yeah.
To that end, I guess my biggest question is how do you assess a candidate? Like just looking at a candidate, like how do you evaluate what you're looking at? Because I feel like a lot of it is like this is in committee and I don't know what that means.
Yeah, so we'll start from like the
Can we do a
top.
civics class?
I'm just a
Yeah,
bill.
so that's
All I know I
That's
learned
in
from
here on
Schoolhouse
Capitol
Rock.
Katie,
and-
that is in my notes. So like I want you guys to know that like when I get a phone call
I'm
about
so
something,
excited.
I just wish that I could just play, like, click a button and just play this song for whoever's calling my phone.
Is
To
it
be
your
like,
ringtone? You could make it your ringtone, I bet.
I should make it my voicemail.
Remember
at
those
work,
ringbacks?
actually.
Those
Yes.
ringback
Oh, a
tones?
ringback call. Oh,
That's what I should do that.
Yes,
So
like
your
a
hold
razor
music
phone.
should be Schoolhouse Rock.
Yes.
I should, right. Okay, so
It's probably common. What's it called? Common, where there's no copyright.
Oh, because it's
Oh.
been like out for so long.
What's it called?
that or because it's, I don't know, who made that?
Schoolhouse Rock,
Yeah, but like who made that?
Probably Disney.
PBS.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. If
Realistically.
like PBS
Mickey Mouse,
did
like,
it,
"You gotta
or like
vote."
yeah, some other.
Come on, Pinocchio.
If it's
How do you like my Mickey Mouse hands?
but literally though, so like this is that's literally like the link is in my notes, so it can get attached to the
That's so
episode because I
funny.
think
Nice.
everyone needs. I think it's like really a great way to just explain like what a disaster and like,
Oh wait,
the
can you also
graphics are on
what is your
board.
job? Can you
Oh,
like give us
right,
an
so my
overview of your
current-
job?
So my current job is a legislative director, which is just a really fancy way to say. Hold on a second, because of course now Harrison's being ridiculous.
Just a really fancy fuck.
It's a really fancy way to be like, I have a scheduler.
Yeah, so
And-
there's
So
that.
I met
So
Nas.
basically, like I'm a glorified paper pusher. I don't do
Lies.
any of like the actual technical writing of a bill. Like that's all handled by like bill drafting. So start to finish, you basically, whoever comes up with the idea, whether it's me, my boss, an advocate, a random constituent, I take this idea and I email my bill drafter after doing like research if somebody else has intro to bill about it, or if there's already like an existing law that we can kind of like amend to solve this problem, so to speak. You pitch it to your bill drafter. They do some of the research, some of the technical, all of the technical writing, because like that is my least favorite part of this job. I like literally have to like go in and like line by line redact or add in language, and it's
Oh
just
god,
like
kill me.
for somebody that has like a focusing problem to like look at one document and having to like directly add in like what needs to get added in, it's very stressful. So then I send off, I get all this paperwork, then my boss signs it, and then I just send it to where it needs to go, and then it gets introduced as a bill.
That's really cool.
And that's basically what that is.
But
So,
also, like, I think important for people to hear that, like, there are people who are on staff in all of these government organizations that are like, okay, I'm listening to this issue that you're bringing to our attention, and I'm going to research this and pass it along to the next step.
So, like, a crazy story is back in, like, 2018, right? I'm down in our district office. We have this freight train line that cuts right through our entire district. It's, like, the worst kind of trash that you can imagine, especially, like, hot New York City weather. These trains are just baking in the sun.
Stinky.
It goes past schools. It's behind people's houses. Like, it was like this ongoing just disaster, like debris falling out of it. So, like, way back when we pitched the idea to our legislative staff, this is when I was still, like, in our district office, and I'm like, hey, is there, like, a bill that we can write that would, like, get these to just be covered? You know, like, any type of, like, tarp, hard cover, whatever.
I mean, so they do have stuff on intermodal anyway, where it's like in the shipping container. Yeah.
Exactly. So, like, more so something like that. And then our legislative staff threw this bill together. We introduced it in 2028. It didn't get passed and signed until 2022. And that's because I just happened to be in Albany and was just like, we need to introduce this bill again. I refuse to give up on it because people back home will, like, be so happy that we even just like got these trains covered. Like, that's a huge
what a good feeling too. Like,
I have a copy of the bill that got signed by the governor, so I get like a pen copy of that. I'm like, yeah, I was on that meeting back in like 2018 when we first like pitched this idea. Like, I was there for that. I was there
with government.
You say you had to reintroduce it. Why?
I get into that in my notes.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But also, like, I think, like, with government work, it's so common to feel like there's so much red tape and there's so much bureaucracy that, like, you're not doing a lot. You know what I mean? So to have moments where you're really effective is just, like, such a win.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
So, yeah, because, like, it is cool that,
we're
like,
going to ruin all your surprises.
I know, right? Like, you guys are jumping the guns here. I'm supposed to be doing, like, a whole civics lesson here. Yeah.
Oh, you were going to do
We're impatient.
Did you guys look at my notes? Yeah. Did you guys hack my notes?
Yes, I hacked you because I learned from Netflix how to do that.
We struggled with USB hookups this morning, so no, we didn't hack anything.
Okay, so basically
with mounting a fucking mic.
I mean, it wasn't your fault that it was messed up, so.
Yeah,
we know who did it.
Fault.
Yeah, we know what happened.
So we'll just start from like the very top, just because like I know that not everyone gets how government works, right? Okay. I'm lucky enough that I have 2 very government degrees, so I'm like pretty qualified. Ooh. So it's like 10 years of
and like a real job.
Yeah, basically.
Where nobody gives you poop.
I wouldn't say that.
Like literal.
Not like literal.
Shit to you? Oh, I was like, you have to start with that story.
Katie was like, what?
No,
somebody mailed you poop.
Them dang kids and their poop again.
I wouldn't be surprised though if that does happen. So like some state offices, you know, they just get like a box of literal poop.
Wasn't everybody sending their old tampons to Mike Pence for a while?
Oh, I believe that. That would be funny.
I don't know, but it might be time to start if they didn't.
Yeah, if we don't, we should start doing that.
Yeah.
Back in whenever the fuck he was in there, when he was governor of Ohio or whatever the fuck.
Indiana.
Yeah. That's right.
He basically caused a mini HIV epidemic in Indiana because he got rid of a clean needle project. So talk about a time where like a minor change by the state government can just literally ruin people's lives.
Well, and that's
like
also
an
like he tried to do like
way.
a 6-week abortion ban, of course, before Roe v. Wade was overturned, and so people were sending them, or he wanted a 4-week abortion ban or something. So they were sending them their tampons because they were like, "Oh no, you have
4 weeks."
It was like disposal of the remains, like the byproduct of an abortion. You had to have like a whole funeral. Like you couldn't.
That's right.
Like they couldn't go to medical waste. It had to be like processed by like the morgue or whatever the hell. Yeah. And so they were sending him their tampons because they were like, "Oh no, you want it this early," and so I don't know how I'm supposed to dispose of this. It was something like that.
But like that's also with this Alito decision that came out, and where they're talking about the voting rights. Was it South Carolina or something they made that decision on? And he's saying like, oh, well, you know, like the intention wasn't to harm people. And Kagan was like, correct, but the whole thing here with government is we've decided federally that whether or not there was an intention to harm a group, if it did, that's all it takes. Like that's the only thing that matters is like somebody was negatively impacted by this. So we need to fix it. And he's like, well, no, like there was no intention, because he's, you know, just like if
deliberately obtuse.
Yes, he's just an evil, sniveling little man. But it's just like a very timely thing to be coming out, this voting rights, especially when they just passed all this stuff about affirmative action, and how they're like, well, you know, that you have to be able to really prove that somebody was experiencing a hardship. And it's like, no, but you just said that if there's like these two things are in contradiction to one another, and they happen so close together.
Yeah. See, this is why I only work in New York. This is why, like, when people are like, "Oh, would you ever go work for Congress?"
Federal,
Absolutely not. No, you couldn't pay me enough money to go work in the West Wing. As cool as that might be for like a day, you couldn't pay me. You couldn't.
Only
pay
if
me
I have a camera crew being like,
That's what I'm saying.
I was president.
No, it's too much. I would vote.
I
for
might
you
just for the
president.
silliness.
Like I'd like to come and be.
Oh yes,
like,
it would be the most silly West Wing.
Yeah, I don't think I could do that. Or like
Michael Scarn would be my head of social or Secret Service.
There would be like those little pinwheels, like down the hallways.
Yeah. So
And all
if
the
you run by
plants.
fast enough, you can get them all to spin.
Yep. So I'm sorry, Sarah. Go.
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
So Sophie would be like Joe Biden's dog and just attack Secret Service agents.
Yes.
Sophie would definitely
Yes.
jump on people. Yeah.
She would
We'd
be
never
like
see
plotting.
Cole for 4 years. He would just disappear. He'd be in the
Yes.
tunnels that they put George Bush in that SNL skit.
Getting lost and just like
Yeah, chasing a butterfly.
Gets on
But
the
yeah,
other
no,
side
federal.
of the gates and can't get back in.
Yes.
Yeah.
federal
Right.
work, and plus it's so many of them are
Because like
political
the shutdown
appointments. So
too,
you just
Yeah.
that too. That it's just like it doesn't feel. I mean, not that my job's really consistent because like we have an election every 2 years, so like it's not stable, but it's definitely not like federal government shutdown. Like I would
Yeah.
not be able to handle that stress. Plus, like they act like children. Like grow up. You guys are supposed to be grown ups. Act like it. Like I'm so sick of just watching these ridiculous clips of Congress and these senators. I'm like, get your shit together. Like, you guys are so old. How are you still acting
so
like this?
fucking old. By the way, you guys are so fucking old.
Retire.
Everybody's so old.
I like to tell people, like, if I'm still running for office in, like, my 60s, please just kill me. If
Yeah.
I'm still trying to do this that late in the game, I should retire. I need
Right.
to start thinking about who's following me. Who's my
Yes.
legacy that's coming behind me? Like, I want to be invested in that instead of just being in my 60s, 70s, being 70-something and still running for office. That sounds exhausting. I want to be retired. I want to be on my maple farm.
nothing.
I want to be on my maple farm with my pigs and some dogs, maybe a donkey, and call it a day and just have a maple farm. That's my retirement plan.
I don't want. I
can't.
It just
I
seems
can't
like I
imagine.
couldn't be bothered
That's
at that
what I'm
age
saying.
to
like,
be.
I want to be chilling. I want to be advocating at that point, I guess. Like, still active, but, like, I don't need this job. Somebody else can come and get it.
Yeah, it is really sad.
The idea of being 70 and having to wear pumps and tights and a bra with underwire every day just...
Ugh.
Yeah, no,
I would fall into that coma and my power of attorney would have to vote for me. That's what would happen.
which we still don't know if that's legal or not. I'll have to text one of my lawyer friends who does that stuff to
Yeah,
see.
text someone else because
Yeah.
I'm not going to look it up.
Another one.
That's okay.
I'm not gonna look it up. Kitty's like, I posed the question, but I can't be bothered to find the answer. You better ask somebody else.
That's okay. I do know somebody that probably might know the answer, so that's the good news. But yeah, so Civics 101, right? So we're going to get down into it. The 3 branches of government.
Yes.
I
Are you
figured guys
quizzing
were gonna,
us? Or
I
you
was going to
want-
jump. I figured you guys were going
Okay.
to jump in.
Okay.
We were like, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Legislative,
Yes, 3.
executive, and judicial.
Judicial.
Ooh, 1 point for Katie. Not that we're
Yeah,
keeping score.
yeah.
So basically, and then here's the other thing. They all exist throughout all levels. So there's like the executive branch technically exists on both the state and local level. So like obviously it's like the president, then it's the governor, the mayors, county execs are basically kind of like the same role as like mayors do, except a little bit bigger, so to speak. The legislation branch, so the legislature, is basically like the House of Reps, the U.S. senators, not to be confused with your state senators, because if I had $1 for every time somebody called my office about some U.S. Senate bill that existed, and I'm like, calling the wrong place. You called Chuck, and you called Kirsten Gillibrand, and you let them know, because I have no stake in that game, basically. Then in New York, you have your state senators and the assembly. Some states, usually most states have a state senate. Some places also call it like a state House of Representatives, which I find kind of redundant. But I guess it's essentially the assembly, but so to speak. Or there's
So the assembly is like House of Representatives. Like they're going to be based on a district and...
Yeah, so there's...
Are they all called congressmen or congressperson?
Yeah, on the federal level, you can... I think you can... Congress is basically, I think, like, them all together is, like, the whole Congress. Okay. But you usually just call, like, your House of Reps. That's your congressperson,
representative.
So to speak. Your representative is essentially your congressperson.
So then on the state level, though, is it...
We have assembly members here.
Assembly members, okay.
So, yeah, and then that's based... There's 150 of them here in New York, and then we have 63 state senators, as opposed to 50 U.S. senators and...
435 or something.
Don't we have 100 and...
Yeah.
Don't we have 100 U.S. senators? Because it's 2
100. Oh, right, 100. That's what I meant. 100 U.S. senators, and then 400
I always think that
and
we have 52 states, and I'm like, no, there's 52 cards in a deck, Garrett. Not 52
The United
states.
States is not a deck of cards. Got it.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
House of Cards, which was different,
Different.
and a show, also a
Similar
show on Netflix.
flavor. Different.
Yeah. So 100 U.S. senators, and then 435. I didn't count
How
those.
are the senators, so like assembly, how are those numbers dictated?
I believe so. We actually just had a redistricting based off.
Oh, that's been a big deal too.
Yeah, so that's
because it went to like the state Supreme Court, right?
Yeah, that was like 50 Shades of fucked up, especially because they decided to do it. They started implementing it during an election year.
Yes.
So basically, beginning of 2022, you start petitioning, right? Like you file in like the January, December. You could file in like 2021, but like usually you're done with your paperwork. You're done all of your first round reporting in early 2022, so to speak. You start petitioning come springtime, summer, especially when it's hot as fuck out, which I find ridiculous that you're expected to be campaigning in some of the hottest months, especially in New York City, going door to door.
On the concrete.
Maybe it's like a
hot.
constitution check. Like if you can survive canvassing in the hot summer,
it's like a
then
gauntlet.
maybe like you have as a candidate, you should be required to do like a certain percentage.
Can't wait
of
to
your
see Sarah's
canvassing.
mugshot on the
So that
fighting old men. Sarah arrested for punching an old man in the face.
Grave robbing, just so I can just punch a dead body.
Me and
in the
Houdini
mouth.
thinks this is fucking stupid.
Houdini's my homeboy.
Me and Katie know all about him.
He got punched
I
in
still
the stomach
can't fucking
and then
believe
he died.
that. Tune into Patreon to hear Katie randomly spout off 500 Harry Houdini.
I mean,
Very self-righteous in her. Actually, he didn't believe in that. I know
So
all
here's
about his
the thing.
philosophies.
If I'm going to be Oscar Nunez, then I'm going to interrupt and correct people about random shit that doesn't matter.
My cousin wrote a biography on Harry Houdini.
My father, the inventor of toaster strudel.
Oh my god. I'm sorry. Continue.
That's okay. So then that's on the state level. And then you have like city councils and like town boards, so to speak. So like that'll be like your school boards, your local town boards. That'll probably do a lot of like your real local issues. Or you have like a place like New York City where we have like a huge city council who, you know, they basically also run the local budgets, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Or like Albany's Common Council where they have like, what is it? They're like districts that they have. There's like a word for it.
I think it's...
Wards. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like that's like your basic most, so very like Parks and Rec meetings, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's a very accurate show.
Yeah. And then it
is to government work, yeah.
Like literally that is what like community board meetings are back home.
And it wouldn't be government work if you didn't do it twice.
Yeah, basically. And then you have the judicial branch, which is the Supreme Court, all of like the federal courts. Then you have your state like court system, Court of Appeals on like a state level. And then you have like your local county, city level courthouses where you go for like tickets, all of that, and then getting married, a lot of like other like divorce paperwork and civil
Small
matters and shit. Like
and
all of that
evictions.
shit happens at like a very local level. We actually have an entire landlord tenant court down in New York City. So
it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Which when I tell people that doesn't exist like in the rest of the state, they're like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like,
yeah, who handles it?
I'm like, I don't know.
We
they
fit
go
it
to,
in
like,
with everything else.
It's just like
they
a
just-
Thursday in most
yeah.
other courts. In the
Yes.
state.
Yes. We're like, I think we finished everything else. All right, so will we have a couple evictions or?
Yeah, that's basically.
That's
that.
how. I mean,
And
I
then
worked at a court briefly, and that's how we did it.
I mean, I'd imagine that's basically how it goes. I can't imagine it's like a real stream of cases that are coming on like a week by week basis, so to speak.
We didn't even have them every week. We would just have them like
that
maybe
makes
once a month.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then so because of the separation of powers, the checks and balances, these three branches basically bounce things off each other nonstop. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work, sometimes they shut down. Sometimes they aren't effective at all. It really all depends on like who you vote for and how all of that works. And then this is where the I'm just a bill comes into my notes, because I would definitely recommend pausing here, pulling up the Schoolhouse Rock video, I'm just a bill, watch that entire thing, and then come back and finish the episode, because I'm not
But don't get distracted by the recommendations that YouTube's giving you after that.
Yeah.
You actually
like
have to
open
then, like,
it
come
on a
back.
separate tab. Like you gotta like pull up the video on your computer, keep the podcast on your phone, and then that way when the video's done you just close your computer. That's how that's gonna basically work.
Hold on.
Somebody doesn't have YouTube Premium.
Not everyone's rich, Garrett.
I also don't have YouTube Premium. I refuse to get it. So I don't know anybody that has YouTube Premium because based on the
I think
principle.
Emily does have it, but just so we can also get WNBA games.
The
That guy.
audio is 10 out of 10, by the way.
Yeah, and
You're
like
welcome.
it's like a very good. It gives a very.
I mean, it was
good-
from the 70s.
Yes.
But like the cartoons are
1975.
still so accurate too, of just like the way that everything is. I feel like it's always something that I mention when I'm doing like a mini civics lesson, because
I need a lot of things explained to me like that.
N-
Turns out
and, like,
Schoolhouse
I-
Rock would have been very effective for me.
Yeah, and I think that it's really just the best way to kind of just explain the way that bills get passed. They start off and then they basically just sit around until they get signed or vetoed. That's basically the gist. It's just a fun video that I
Or
had
like
to
roping
mention.
it in with another issue to
Yeah,
combine things. And
Yeah. So Normally I've only really focused on like just New York, because if other states want to do some crazy shit, who am I to get in their way at this point? Because
The Supreme Court agrees.
yeah, I mean,
We're all gonna die.
yeah, I mean, we're basically on like a floating pebble in the sky anyway, and you know, it is what it is at this point. It's 2024. The doomsday clock has to be right at some point, I feel like. So, I mean,
Zorp.
we'll see. Yeah.
Zorp's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you book the park for Zorp and his followers?
Oh yeah, do you handle that, or do we contact your scheduler?
Oh, you call a whole different department. Don't call me for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we don't handle that.
Only
on
call
March
Sarah
31st.
to book Zorp's coming. All hail Zorp.
But so each state actually has like weird legislative schedules, which I guess I just never really thought about how inactive a lot of state governments are, just because
That's frightening.
New York is just like constantly on the go, right? So we have a lot of like mayor and city council, governor, those are all 4-year terms, but like your state reps, like your senators and your assembly members, those are every 2 years. So like
I feel like
That
you
was a
can't, like as
longer-
soon as you get elected, you are
Have to
hit
start
the ground running.
campaigning.
I'm already thinking about January. I've already like I lost count. There's
We're in the
less
fifth
than
month.
like 10 there's less than like 10 legislative days left, and I'm already thinking about January. I'm already thinking about how to take all of our legislation and campaign on it in the fall. Like I have to be able to think like 6 months in advance to like know what should be the first things that like we reintroduce, so to speak. We're gonna get into all
Sounds like a
this.
nightmare.
It is, which is why you
I
have
hate your
to
life for you.
you have to like really love what you do to like have this job, though, because like I've been with the Senate for, it'll be 9 years next month, and I'm 31 and a half. So like you have to really love what you do to do what I do. Like my boss is probably one of the few state reps that have like retained his staff for like over a decade. Like we have some staff members that are like 15 years with my boss.
Wow.
And like, yeah, because that's what happens when you have a good boss. You retain
They're
good
trapped.
staff. I mean, hey, am I trapped?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
or do I just really like the state benefits? Because that's
Blink twice. Oh yeah, the state benefits.
Yeah, so like I'm not upset about it. Like being like 22 and like having my own health care and like starting
Days
my
off.
pension. Yeah, all of that. Like it's definitely the reward too of just like helping a little lady with like her tax exemption forms so she could save like a couple $100 every quarter. Like that's the best feeling. Like there is no better feeling than that. Like it really is.
What
just,
about
like,
when you get a lot of phone calls from Garrett about construction happening in front of her house?
Oh,
and
see,
trees
we're
getting cut down?
that's your local state senator's problem, not the guy that I were, not my guy. Not,
But it is
but
true,
I
like,
will
Anytime
tell
an
you,
issue
like-
comes up, we're like, "Where's Sarah? We gotta ask Sarah about this." I actually do have a question for you when we're done, by the way.
Perfect. That's totally fine. I
Yes.
definitely like to know who to call in those scenarios, because
Yeah.
and like that's the other thing. Always contact your state reps about random shit. Like there was this manhole cover that was outside this lady's house. Every time a car drove over it, it made that like clickety clack sound. And
Dum dum.
I drove to it, and I was just like, all right, let me see how loud it was bad. And so I literally
So
called.
you were like Ron Swanson tamping down the asphalt?
Oh, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not. No, that's not me, because that's...
There are road crews for a reason.
That's me sending an email to the city DOT and being like, hey, buddy, can you come and deal with this manhole cover? Because, like, and, like, you know, you go and take photos of it, and then you email the city agency, and then they go and they deal with it, so to speak. Like, that's basically how it's supposed to work.
But even then,
In
like,
an
you
ideal-
you get opportunities. I'm sure they're few and far between, but you get opportunities to really feel effective. Like, I really was able to, like, handle
Yeah.
this issue directly for someone else.
And
And improve their life.
Yes, so there was a case where these people had Verizon, like their landline, and also like they once had internet, but when Verizon started switching to like the FiOS or the fiber optic wires, this person's house couldn't be fitted for these new wires, but they were still getting charged for the services that they weren't even getting. And so I think it was like we go to like senior groups and like senior centers to like go talk to like the old folks. Oh, they love me back home. Like they still ask my coworkers how I'm doing, and I left the city like 3 years ago.
That's
And
sweet.
so, it's like a room full of grandmas. Like they all want me to date their grandsons. They all, and I'm like,
I got bad news for you.
I don't know that
Yeah.
you're their type.
Sorry, I'm just way too busy. Like I used to tell them, I'm way too busy with school and work right now, and
I'm just
kind
so
of
busy.
I just don't have time for dating. Like I'm not even gonna get into it. That's I don't want you to think about me dating. That's basically the gist of it. Like I don't even want that
don't worry
thought in-
yourself about
I'm fine.
that.
I'm on Tinder. Like don't
My
even worry
wife would
about
get
it.
really mad if I
Yeah,
said
and like now, any chance that I can, like just slip in the words like fiance, partner, future wife. I'm planning a wedding. I'm always trying to slip that into a conversation in Albany because like this place is a fucking cesspool. We'll get into that. Not
Born
like
and
the
raised,
city,
baby.
not like the city of Albany, like the government that's located in Albany.
It is like when you read. So I mean, obviously, as we were kids, you do New York State history, but like anybody that is familiar with any New York State history, it is always like, oh, they have like the most corrupt state government.
Tammany Hall.
any
That's what we
state.
learn about.
Yes, yes.
That's what
Do you
got me
remember
into
robber
government.
barons?
Actually, not to lie, Tammany Hall is what got me really
Really?
dedicated into look. I'm like, oh, I could be like that. I could
Give
do
me that boss tweed any day.
I'm
Yeah.
Irish.
I could run things. I could be powerful and effective and have like
Give
the
me a fat
charisma.
cigar and a pinstripe suit.
Sign me up.
Give me a
Sign
big
me
desk.
up.
I'm the villain from Inspector Gadget.
Yes, with a big ass fluffy cat. That was I'm like, oh, I could do that.
Sarah just spinning around in a chair.
Can't stop.
Or does that thing where
Dr. Evil,
Yes.
Evil,
Yeah.
just like in like the big dome one, you know?
you turn around and then your chair goes and the air comes out of
Yes.
Smoke
Can't
shoots
reach
out
your
the
desk.
sides.
sitting on phone books, like feet swinging.
Yep. This wouldn't happen
But yeah,
if I had one of those little
I think
toilets.
I think it really just was just like I think seeing how corrupt New York always was, and just like the lack of men running the government. I think always
Yes.
like pissed me off, and so I'm just like,
many
oh, I
men.
love breaking the rules. I feel like I could be good at making them.
So many dusty ass old men
Ugh.
that Sarah's got to
Literally.
punch in the face. That's so
I
much
mean,
work.
if I had $1 for every time I could have punched an old guy in the mouth, I could probably retire at this point. 'Cause
I love this game.
the self-control that is
What
required
if I
of me.
start giving you $1 every time you do punch an old man in the mouth?
You know, I also like the effectiveness of egging somebody, like just slamming an egg on top of somebody's head. That I find is a very effective protest.
love this.
Or
What about a
like
pie to the face?
I was gonna say pie to the face. I think that's very effective.
Love it.
Just something
Or
that's
you can
like
use
gonna
that like micro glitter and
That
just like
too.
put some in your hand and then tap them on the shoulder
yeah.
so they
I
don't
should-
even know.
I should just start doing that to Republicans, just like seeing them in the hallway and just being like,
I was
and
going to say
just
blow it in
blowing.
their face.
oh, I was gonna say just blow it on
Blind them.
their back, so it's just like a line of glitter that just like is on their whole back
Yeah.
of their jackets.
yeah,
be like,
and
"It's
if it's
fairy
micro
dust."
glitter, it'll never get out.
Yeah.
Good.
Wow, that's really chaotic and evil. I love that.
We love that. That's the brand.
Yeah. And it's like so like subtle putting it on their clothes instead of blowing it into their eyes like a psychopath. I like
Yeah,
that.
because then
Yeah,
it's
'cause
just like
then you
they
don't
just
have
like
to worry about
they
corny
sparkle when they
vibrations.
walk. They walk through the hallways too with like that very awkward ceiling lighting. It'll be fantastic. Or like how
It'll be like
bright it
Edward
is
Cullen.
in the chambers. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
On
Oh,
TV,
you
we
like,
just see them all glittering.
So if you pull up a session in early June, maybe you'll see some
C-SPAN.
Republicans.
I would
Sarah
watch
just-
C-SPAN if there was more glitter.
Or like if they could like throw a chair you know, during those
Yeah.
hearings.
Or if they're like giving their presentations
Celebrity
with all the
Deathmatch.
charts and like, this is how many insects died because of PBH poisoning in Hudson Falls. But then they also, it was like a science fair where they had like bubble letters and they outlined it in glitter.
Yeah.
That's what those meetings
Like-
should just be, like science
Yeah.
fair-esque.
Like,
Yeah.
show me that you put in the work, Senator, when you're giving this presentation. Like, I want to make sure that this wasn't just a team project that
And
you're
so
taking
it's
the credit
funny-
for.
It's so funny because basically every committee has to do some type of presentation going into the budget process. So, like, there are these staffers that are just throwing together these PowerPoints.
Or they've got a glue
think-
stick. They're like, fuck. I don't have enough
I
I,
think you
honestly,
should
I'm
go
going to
with
pitch the
mine because
idea. I'm going
It's
to
gonna
pitch
wake
that.
people up. They're gonna be
I
like,
think it'd
wait
be
a
way
minute,
more
what was
fun.
that idea with the weird one that came in and the poster kept falling over and
Yeah.
but
With
they
the
were
really
lot of
purple
glitter.
bubble letters with the puffy paint, that one. That was a good. Honestly,
PowerPoint.
I
They
think
did
that would
that
be way
S.
more effective if it could just be like a science fair, like every committee just like does their
Yeah.
own board and you just
Yeah.
walk around the whole room. I'm gonna pitch that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pitch that one. I get
Honestly,
back.
like, you know what? For my like ADHD brain, I'm like, I could do a poster
then
board.
You could get, if you
and
have that
construction
format,
paper.
your table could have like pens with like the bill number and then like 4 words that describe
Yeah.
it. So then
Or,
you're
like, your
writing with
budget-
your pen and you're like, oh yeah, whatever happened with this bill? Type, blah, blah, blah. Oh, we
That's
should
a-
do something. I'm
Make
telling you.
Albany great again. I'm sorry. We can keep going. It was just a joke. It was just a joke. I didn't mean
You're gonna
it.
have to disconnect Garrett from the call.
We'll keep going.
Yeah, so basically our session, so like I said, so like you petition in the early months. So we're just going to base everything off of the 2022 election. That's what I included in my notes basically. So in New York for a state rep, every 2 years your local reps are up for election. You'll start to see there's a couple of special elections happening in Albany, which is why you see some signs happening now. Plus there is the June primary. And so that's why you're seeing them now when it's not even like Memorial Day's tomorrow. So like this is from basically Memorial Day onward, you're going to see a lot more campaigning happening. You're going to get a lot more ads on your phone because June's the primary, then later on in the year the general basically, so to speak. Right? Okay. Fun times. This is all fun.
Yeah, I get
I
a
keep
lot
getting
of text
those spam
messages.
texts.
Yeah,
I'm
and
getting-
I keep replying, telling them. I scream at
Margaret,
them
can
about
you
a
help
ceasefire,
Nancy
so-
Pelosi?
Fuck no.
Like, no,
I'm
guys.
getting stuff for the New York City mayor election, and that's not until next year. So like, buddy, if I could
No.
vote for you, I would, but I
If
can't.
I could punch
So,
Eric Adams in the face,
I
I
would.
would.
If I could do that with no he's definitely in the top 5 people that I would.
Oh, he's got
if I
he's
could, if
punchable
I could
faces.
if I could physically fight somebody, he's on that roster.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll
For
end
sure.
up like the NYPD police chief that pepper sprayed himself.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into how you can also fall very far when you don't surround yourself with good commissioners. We'll get into that. So basically, early 2022, you are petitioning. You're on the ballot for the upcoming primaries, so to speak. Right. You basically campaign. It's election November. Great. You hit the ground running. Especially if it's your re-election, it's a little bit easier. But basically, if you're the new guy, you're kind of just bobbing along. You get sworn in January 2023. Session starts. It basically goes from January to June. The budget is due on April 1st of every single year. So basically the first 3-ish months of sessions just dedicated to getting the budget done. Bills get reintroduced. All of that jazz. Sometimes we have a late budget. We had a very late budget this year, which delayed my vacation plans, but that's okay.
I mean, yeah, in state government, like every time the
But
budget came up, we would be like, "Oh my my god. This
But I
hasn't
will
happened
say,
yet.
like, at
what?
least when they will just end up passing riders to basically do, like, a week-by-week extender, so to speak. So it's not like I'm at risk of, like, not getting paid. Because, like, I think that if staff didn't get paid, the place would really fall apart. Like, I feel like that's the only reason why.
I'd be okay getting furloughed, I think. You, like,
I feel
work
like
up
I just
part-time,
wouldn't
right?
be able. Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't be able to handle the stress of that, though. Like, I feel
Furlough
like I'd
me.
still.
I would not handle the stress, but I sure as
I'll
fuck
live in a
wouldn't be
furlough.
doing a single stitch of work if I wasn't getting an actual
Well, that's what I
paycheck.
mean. Like, I feel like I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. I just sitting here going crazy, like just not having anything to do. Like that sounds like I don't think I could handle that. So we pass riders that basically get us by week, and then eventually in the wee hours of the night they pass a budget. Sometimes it's like
So
3
those
o'clock in the morning.
days, because you're the legislative director, are you the one of the people that's like stuck at the Senate until like 2 a.m.?
Well, my boss tells me I'm not allowed to brag about it, but I brag about it anyway. So I'm lucky because of who I work for. He doesn't require a lot of like, I'm gonna say hand-holding. Yeah, like that's not literally what staffers do, because like they are doing stuff and like they have certain things to do, but like my boss has also been here for so long that like he doesn't need me.
Well, if you work
there.
for like an adult baby, then yeah, like
Yeah,
everything
or
is going
like
to be
if
more
like
difficult.
if you work for like
You have to change your diapers and everything. It's just like a whole
like
thing.
if you work for like the budget, like if your boss is on like the ranking member of like the budget committee or like the finance committee, or
yeah.
if you're like internal staff that like works for like the majority leader's office, who's like in on like budget negotiations also, sure, you're working, I'm not. And is that fair? Probably not, no, but that's what happens when you work for your boss for as long as I have. You have a trust where like, hey, if you need me, just shoot me a text. Like, if you need something, I don't care how late it is, just text me, and if I'm awake, I'm awake. If I'm not, then I'll get done in the morning.
Text
like,
me and I'll just ignore it.
I mean, I wouldn't do that, but like I at least have my read receipts on, so like you'll know if I read it.
You
know?
have read receipts on?
Oh yeah, that happens every time I text Sarah. I get a red receipt.
Whoa. Yeah, no, in no world. Nope.
It holds me
Never.
accountable.
Shan't.
It holds me
Shan't.
accountable.
Shan't ever use
I like people to
read
know that I
receipts.
read their text messages and then never answer them. It's a flex.
Wow, that is a flex. Yeah, I don't have that kind of confidence.
I don't like it, Sarah.
Well,
Pay attention to me.
your phone, your rules. It's called autonomy. Our government needs to learn it.
But
so,
I feel like I should be able to turn off seeing the red receipts. Like,
do you want me? I can turn them off just for you.
no, I don't.
Kitty's
care.
like,
I mean,
I
it's not
can't
that big of a
handle
deal. I just feel like if
knowing.
I have them off on my phone, like I don't want to see that you've read. You know what
There
I
you
mean?
go, Katie. I turned off your. You will no longer get a read receipt from me. You can
Honestly,
turn
it
it off
just
by
freaked
message.
me out when I texted you yesterday and you read it immediately, and I was like, "Oh God, am I in trouble?"
Yeah.
Like I hadn't even closed the app, and it was like red, and I was like, Jesus.
So like it's one of those things
God.
where like for most of the day my phone is just like in my hand or like plugged into my car if I'm obviously driving. So like I am just always, my phone's always within like a hand's reach, so to speak.
I literally lost my
same,
phone
but-
for half the day the other day.
Yeah.
I didn't know where it was because I stuck it in a random pocket in a random bag.
Oh.
Couldn't find it. And I was home by myself, so I couldn't call it. So no,
That's the worst.
I'm the opposite end of that, like, hold myself accountable spectrum. I'm like, I'll respond in
Garrett's
5 to 10
like,
Yeah,
business
so-
days.
You can hold me responsible over my dead body.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The dead body that you will never find.
Yeah.
And
So
it
like,
will never haunt
I'm
you
a-
because ghosts aren't real.
but so I'm lucky.
Only someone
in that
who's
sense,
afraid of
though.
ghosts would be so adamant about that. Saying that.
I agree. But so like I'm lucky though. And so like here's the other thing. We're trying to unionize our legislative staff right now for
That's
all
great.
of the except
It's weird that you're not union.
don't even get me started. Don't even.
Yeah.
But so part of it is
Yeah, how are you getting state bennies without being union?
we're what is it?
MC.
MC employees.
Oh.
That's weird.
So like we're in the system, but we're not counted. Like we don't have like civil service requirements, so to speak.
I guess
None
to
of
the
our
extent that like you work for a specific senator or assembly member,
or
it
like
doesn't-
the
like if they lose the election, then it's like, well, what are we supposed to do with these people now?
that's what happens.
So like I get it.
yeah.
Because,
Which is also part of the reason why I did make the jump up from running our district office to Albany, because I'm just like, I'm so close to 10 years. God forbid my boss lost in like 2022 or like now 2024. I'm like, at least I'm where the government is.
Yeah.
Because like any form of state office will basically fill my or a lot of like county level, local level stuff will still fall under the same system. So I could go work at SUNY, and that would still count. Any of the agencies, that would count. The governor's office, that would all still go towards my credit, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that's basically what led me to make the jump, because I was on track to become like chief of staff back home, and I'm like, no. No.
then you would have to work in the West Wing.
No, because it's just like it's too much management. I'm not into managing people. That's like one of my downfalls, is that like I don't like being the bad guy. I like being a boss. I don't like being the boss, if that makes sense.
I'm the boss. Well,
I'm
leaving
a
people on
boss.
red so that they
Yeah.
I
know
probably
it.
am the boss, and I just have no fucking clue because I'm not paying attention.
You could be a boss, but
I wasn't even trying to impress
Tune
you.
into Patreon to hear how I've managed to function at all, really.
But so they like the staffers that are trying to unionize this. Like I signed a union card because I'm pro-union. My dad's a union guy, so like I've always just been pro-union. As long as it's a good union and it functions the way that like the governing body of the union wants it to, great. That sounds like a great union. But so people ask me why nobody else in my office really signs a union card, and I'm like, well, look who we work for. I'm like, you guys are here till 3 o'clock in the morning on the budget. I'm at home sleeping with my cats. Like, we don't sign a budget, like they don't sign a budget card because we have it great compared to like everybody else. Like my boss is like literally like when lobbyists are like, you have a great boss. Like when other staffers are like, wow, your boss is so nice. I'm like, yeah, you don't retain staff for a decade plus because they like you. They do it because it's a good work-life balance. Like, I'm literally taking a week off vacation at the end of session because I can. Because I literally was like, I haven't taken a vacation since pre-COVID. And I kind of just looked at my boss, and he's like, really? And I was like, yeah, my last week-long vacation was literally, like, summer of, like, 2019. And he's like, have a good trip.
The before times.
Yeah, so, like, he's like, have a good trip. Like, he didn't
BC.
even... Yeah, he didn't literally, though. So, like, having such a solid boss like that, like, knows I've put in all of this work, that he's just like, have fun. Go see your family, like...
And it makes you more appreciative, too, because
Yeah,
if shit
and
changes and you wind up with a different boss, then the union protection is that much more important.
So basically, like, that's what happens, like, when you have a good boss that just, like, doesn't do anything crazy to, like, really risk your job back home. And so my first chief of staff basically said, like, we do our job year-round, so it's easier come election time. Like, you've done your job when we win elections, so to speak. And I will say, not for nothing, my boss's numbers increased since I started. Like, my first year working for him, our numbers in, like, my local neighborhood, there was, like, a decent bump up from, like, if you look at his, like, 2014 numbers to his 2016 numbers, like, even, like, the first Trump era kind of deal. There was a bump in his numbers, and that's because I was going to, like, our local senior groups and talking to all these old people and just listening.
Getting them to sign power of attorneys. And then
No.
submitting the absentee
No.
falsifying ballots.
Fucking ethics commission is
I
gonna
love that
come.
the attorney is the one who's like,
I know. You're doing
let me
illegal
cause
things.
this chaos.
Yeah.
Sarah's like, it's not, stop making the joke. Stop making the joke.
It's not funny.
I'm talking about how great my job is. You're going to get me fired.
The ethics commission is going to come and they're going to chase me down, which is a real thing also, that we do like
That
an
they get
actual
chased?
we get an ethics training every year. because, you know, gotta stay
yeah.
ethical. But so just because, like, just going out there talking to people, relating to them, I always say if it's a problem for you, it's probably a problem for me. I just don't know it yet. And people always like that. Because I'm like, yeah, like, I drive through these streets, too. I'm from here. I grew up here. I went to school here. They love that stuff. And it's always just like, wow, thank you so much for just, like, helping. But then I come to Albany, and it's basically just like a who you know. Like, it's almost like a popularity contest. And, like, I tell my boss all the time, I didn't come to Albany to make friends. I have friends. They just don't live here, you know? I'm not going to
They go to a different school. You wouldn't know them.
Yeah, basically. That's
They're in a different
basically what it
class.
is. Yeah.
My girlfriend's in
next-
Canada.
But I'm seeing her next weekend, so she's real.
And so it's basically just like a popularity contest almost of like a who do you know? And it's just like...
And I do feel like because of the location, and Albany is so centered around state government, that I feel like it is a kind of insulated.
Yeah.
And even with the civil service law, I think that does really impact a lot of state agency. Is very much like a networking, almost more like private sector networking.
Yeah. Which, like, it's so funny because, like, the advocates love me. The lobbyists love me. Have I made friends in, like, the majority leader's office? No. Why? I don't... Fuck, you know what it is? I mean... I'm not saying that, but it's also just, like, I don't
Katie
need
is.
to be...
I'll say it for you. Don't worry.
I don't need to be a person in power because I already have power. Like,
Thanos.
I know. That's basically me.
And
And
people on red, and they know it. That's where we are
And so-
with things.
basically, like, I shouldn't have to, like, call you and ask you for a favor for you to get a good bill passed. Like, that's, like, my principle of it. It's, like, I shouldn't have to be buddy-buddy with the right people in order for my boss's bills to go somewhere. Like, it should be brought to a floor vote because it's a good bill, not because I'm kissing some guy's ass. You
So
know,
do you think
like...
that a lot of the voter frustration, like, because I've never called a senator's office before to, like, ask about something that's, like, personally bugging me. Do you think, like, there isn't enough of that happening where people are like, you know, like, P.S.
I think
annoying.
everyone, here's the thing. I think everyone should be calling their local reps about everything. Anything. Like, that's the other thing. Like, you can
Accountability.
You can call about anything. And I also just like to know, like, the response time for some staff. So, like, COVID, right? My office was one of the few offices, if not the only one. The New York Post actually put out an article about how our staff was, like, working through the pandemic and how it was, like, against the governor's regulations. And my boss is just like, my staff is the one that approved this plan, so I'm not forcing them to do anything. They figured out a schedule that keeps them all safe and secure, and they feel good about it. So, like, it is what it is. But we were one of the only offices that somebody could call and talk to about, like, their unemployment cases. So, like, I was filing...
Which is wild when there was such an increase in people having problems.
And so we were one of the few offices that people are like, I heard that you guys were open. Can you help me? And I'm like, where do you live? And they'd
Oh my God,
be like...
especially in New York State, now that I'm thinking about it. Like, New York was, like, the epicenter for so long.
Queens was, for sure.
Yeah.
And
That's
so,
wild.
like, people would just, like, call us and being like, well, I reached out to my guy and they didn't answer me. And I'm like, how long ago did you try to call them? They'll be like 2 weeks. I'm like, that's too long.
Sarah's like, that's
I'm like,
that's
that's
little
too...
bitch.
It's because, like, I get that people are working remote, but, like, you could at least call them back and being like, I'm putting you on a list. Like, I'm doing something. I'm doing anything. Like, to just not answer somebody, like, that's just not how my office does it. So, like, that's kind of just, like, frustrating to just see all these other offices just be all willy-nilly and, like, no consistency or, like, radio silence, you know? Like,
What's
this is,
a
like,
bad way to talk to your representative's office?
at the grocery store. Don't ever stop to talk to them at the grocery store. Or, like,
I don't
when
want to
I'm
talk to
running
anybody in the
errands.
grocery store.
So, like, I was once just, like, running errands on, like, a main avenue back home. Like, I'm just, like, it's like my day off. Like I think it's Saturday or like I took a vacation day, and I'm just like out running errands. I'm like in like basketball shorts and like a t-shirt, like not work attire at all. Like, and who do I run into? One of my little ladies from the senior center, and she wants to play 20 fucking questions, and I'm just like, ma'am, I am not
Connie Chunging you.
Oh my god, I am just like not at work right now, and so like you could call my office and like we'll get something going, but like I don't have time for that, so to
What
speak.
if they write you a ransom note? Because I know you've gotten some of those.
Oh, those are fun. I love a fun little random note where you don't know where it comes from. That's also fun.
So I used to work at a courthouse when I was in college on like the local level, and people would mail in their tickets because we did a lot of like vehicle and traffic stuff.
Yeah.
And people get real wild with mail. Our mail system needs to be closely monitored more than it is now.
Emails too, like the emails that would come to like my boss's like Senate email. There's some of them I'm just like, that tinfoil hat's on a little too tight this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of sovereign citizens? Because PK does, doing jury stuff.
No. That would be...
They don't believe that Sarah's department exists.
Yeah, that I should even exist.
So, yeah. They're wild.
But right, so back to jumping around again.
What do you mean? We're doing so good.
That's
I know we are. We're doing great.
My specialty is jumping
basically,
around.
you basically win your 2022 election. You start introducing bills for January 2023. The budget process starts. It's so much fun having all these people email and call and just being like, well, everything's being negotiated, because it's basically like they used to have this phrase when it was like Cuomo and the other two leaders of the houses that is basically 3 men in a back room. Now it's 2 women and a man in a back room, and they...
Still, either way, it's the start of a porno, but okay.
I mean... Yes.
Especially
Catherine.
for Cuomo.
I mean,
Catherine.
yes.
Catherine.
And she's not wrong. And so that's basically like, so like a lot of the budget stuff gets negotiated in all these other offices, and then I'm just getting these calls about, you can't cut funding to this, and I'm like, I'm not the one doing the red lines, so I will pass along your message to where it needs to go. And so it's just a lot of waiting, I would say, during this time frame. What's going to be in the budget, what won't be in the budget, and like we're talking about bills that are like hundreds of pages long.
So it's just like everybody's just trying to be the squeaky wheel and like
get a, like a
communicate their
line
point
item.
the best. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Or,
then
like,
you have your bill introduced in January, and it... So...
Gets to assigned to a committee. I have those notes too.
Okay, so then... But is that when it gets added to the budget? Or is this like...
No,
these are
so
two
it's separate. It's
things
separate. They
happening
just
at the same
happen
time?
at the same. They
Okay.
happen at the same. But you can have a bill that gets added to the budget. So
Okay.
sometimes we will put policy ideas that need a fiscal attached to it. So like we had like it's
Like
just
expanding after-school programs or something.
basically SNAP funding, like something
Universal
that
child
like
care.
yeah yeah
What's
something
that?
like
Let's get some daycares open, guys.
fixing tier 6 retirement.
Going crazy over here. Oh
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
So
Yeah.
like stuff like that will be added into the budget, even though it is a bill, but because it has like a fiscal or financial requirement, it will get added to the budget. Or
Okay.
sometimes we just throw things into the budget because it's the only way that it would get signed. That's another thing I don't like. We shouldn't
force
be...
the hand.
Yeah. If you remember
Force
bail
majeure.
reform. Remember bail reform a handful of years ago.
Oh yeah. That was like 2022.
Yeah, that was basically
Also.
because of it just got rammed into the budget, and then you're forced to basically vote no on a budget, but when you vote no on these budget bills, you're voting
Everybody
no
gets
on
mad
like
at you.
veterans funding, education
Right.
funding, housing options, senior centers funding. So like that's why they do it sometimes.
It's a real
so-
slippery move.
I hate it. It's gross. So then you get through the budget, then you have all these bills that get introduced. Some of them do get passed immediately. Some of them will just kick around committees for a fresh minute. They'll get amended. language needs to be changed, the effective date will need to get changed, all that good stuff. Again,
It's hard to
real
believe anything
technical-
could just pass. At the, like the way as like everything is so divided right now politically. I think to myself, like, you know, like those like the safe harbor bill, like where you can drop off a baby at like a fire station or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, that would never pass now. Never in a million years would that pass now. And that's all I can think is like, there's so many things. I'm like, I can't believe anything passes.
So it's 2023, right? So you have from 2023 to 2024 to basically get this bill passed. If it doesn't get passed in 2023, it gets reintroduced in 2024.
Or it gets dropped. So if somebody doesn't care about it.
No. So it'll stay active, whether anyone cares about it or is lobbying on it. It's still it just exists. It's just there. All these bills technically exist. Some of them just aren't active because the bill numbers aren't good anymore. So like you'll have a bill number from like 2018 that gets a new bill number in 2020 and 2022 and 2024.
Because they keep reintroducing it.
Because they have to keep reintroducing it. But the number stays good for like 2 sessions. Because our session goes, it's a 2-year span. There are some, I also have it in my notes for the episode link. There are some states where like they don't have session every other year. Like there are some states they don't have session at all in even years whatsoever. So there are some states where they're not fully legislating.
How are they doing anything?
Well, it's all the states that you think.
Oh.
Arkansas.
a lot of those, like, so like a lot of the like Northeast, like we're all in session right now. Some places they only legislate for like 3 months out of the year.
So we're like the overachievers in the group project, and then like they're the ones that don't do anything.
Yeah.
They basically are just out stomping around. And yeah, so like in Florida, they gavel in every January and then they adjourn in every March with no carryover. So every January, every March, you only have those 3 months. Yeah, basically 3 months. Yeah, 3-ish months. And
to
every
get anything done?
It's
every
a
year
snowbird
new bill.
session.
Yeah, but then Texas doesn't have regular session in even years.
Well, they don't even have a power grid, so.
But they have, but they do session from January to May on odd years. So like it's not even like they're doing a full calendar in the odd years.
I don't get it.
But then California and New York, we have bills carry over from odd to even years.
We're the people in the group project that are doing their work.
Yeah.
And prepping for the presentation, and then like Arkansas is not doing anything.
Yeah.
They're like, we don't need to prep for that.
Yeah, we're taking the notes, and we're like, remember last time we talked about how we were going to talk about blah, blah, blah this time?
Yeah.
It's this time.
Yeah. So then, basically, like, you can introduce a bill in 2023. The same bill number is good for 2024. But here's the kicker. Both houses need to pass the exact same bill. So if my bill on the Senate side goes to an A print, if the Assembly does not amend their bill, there's no longer a same as, and my bill is now a standalone bill. Their bill is now a standalone bill, even though they're the exact same thing, but mine's an A print and theirs is the original, and it's changed by like we're talking like one word could be added or deleted or changed or more defined, whatever it is. But unless both houses have the exact same bill, with the exact same language, it can never get signed into law until there's exact, like, 2 same as bills that both get passed within the same calendar year. Yeah, same session. So, like,
I'm amazed that anything gets done, actually, now that I'm actually impressed.
So when I said earlier that there was a bill that we got introduced in 2018 and it didn't get signed until 2022, that's like, I'm not going to say average, but like that's not surprising that it took that many session calendar years. Because it has to basically go
on a train.
On a fucking trash train. Yeah. On a fucking trash train. Yeah.
Remember on Big Mouth on the diaper barge?
Yes.
It's like you just put a tarp on the diaper barge. And
These are my pigeon friends.
Yeah. It's basically like that. And
oh my
so,
God.
but like your bill can basically get kicked to like any committee. So like we had, was that one of the windows that got closed? No. So this is a great example. So we had a prenatal vitamins bill that would require insurance to like pay for prenatal vitamins. Garrett's like, man, this could have been helpful, I don't know, 3 years ago.
So mad, I can tell.
No,
Also,
no, this
the
is
fact
this
that
is
like
good.
prenatals are not.
Don't even. Yeah, don't. I
That's
don't make
why
the
I'm
rules.
getting mad. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, so there's like weird loopholes that allows insurance companies to basically not cover prenatal vitamins. Right. Okay. So in 2023,
they're like, why is your baby got birth defects?
Yeah. So
Because you're a bad mom.
In
Oh, that meth I
2023,
It's the diaper barge got me. It floats outside my house.
oh, keep hitting.
Oh
that.
no.
So in 2023, we introduced it. It went to the insurance committee. It took a couple of January to May, so it sat there for a fresh minute.
Fuck these
What was the
so it
insurance committee's problem with that bill?
It's just I don't know. There was no problem, but it has to basically get added to the agenda for a committee to get it on to that's step one. Not only it gets sent to a committee, but then the committee has to basically vote it out of the committee. So that's that whole thing. Then it has to also age 3 days. Once it's been like finalized by the committees, it has to physically age, not literally because we don't
Like
print
a side
everything.
of beef?
It has to.
I know. I was thinking like sourdough. It's like it's got to
Yeah.
sit there for a certain number.
It's got to sit there for basically like 3 days to literally age on a desk, but I call it a desktop because everything's like on the computer now, So it physically has to age 3 days before it can.
Old men are wild.
Yeah, so like it's funny. So like if we pull it up.
What is the purpose of this rule?
Oh, I actually know the answer for this. So apparently it dates way back to when people were still riding around on horses. That it would take anybody in the given state of New York 3 days to get to the Capitol. For them to get the bill and then for them to basically get to Albany to then vote on it.
So if the Pony Express was delivering this shit.
Yes.
That's basically where it comes from.
By the way, this is not related to anything, but drove past a place yesterday that was the Schenectady Pigeon Club. And so we were trying to figure out if... I asked PK if he wanted to join, and then we decided it was actually our cat Kiki, because she's trying to get pigeons to join, because she'll sit at the window and chirp at the birds that have a little house in the bush next to our door.
It's probably because pigeon... I wonder if it's like a homing
Kiki
pigeon
and
thing.
Mike Tyson. Yeah.
Ozzy Osbourne. They're all... They're all there just trying
Alice
to trick
Cooper
pigeons.
and Kiki just like biting pigeon
But so
heads.
that's where the 3 days comes from, is that it would take
the
3 days for a rep to basically get to, because the Capitol used to not always be in Albany. It was in Kingston for a little bit, down the city. It moved around for a little bit. So it took them 3 days to get to the Capitol to vote for this.
My mind is blown by this Pony Express knowledge.
It is now 2024 and we still physically age a bill by 3 days.
I mean, on the one hand, it's like, okay, I guess theoretically it gives you time to read this 400-page bill before you vote on it.
Some of these
Not
aren't
that anybody really is.
Yeah, the budget bills are 400 pages. The regular bills aren't. Like, a lot of it'll be, I think some of them are like at most the physical bill tax will maybe be like 20, like 10 pages back and front or like 20 pages single-sided. Like, they're not
So they require pregnant people to like watch videos and sit through a fucking conversation and do ultrasounds to have a termination. But then they're like, we need to give these men 3 days so they have lots of time to think about this bill that they want to pass and ride their pony all the way to the building.
They gotta rewatch the Schoolhouse Rock video and remember
That's what
their jobs are.
Yeah. So the bill 8. So
Salty
like,
as hell.
And it's funny. So like
For
first
fucking
report.
prenatals.
Yeah. So first report's literally on May 22nd. The second report's on the 23rd, and then it advanced to the third reading on the 24th. So like we're literally like once it hits the calendar, you basically keep going. Like that's when your bill, like if your bill's on like the third reading, it's looking pretty good. Like that's where you want it to be come like the end of May. Like you just need somebody to just push it to the floor activity, bring it to a vote, and then that's when it gets voted on. Okay, so the Senate voted on it on May 30th. It died in the assembly. So
Why?
they couldn't. Great question. Couldn't tell you. So then it gets returned to the Senate, right? It goes back to the insurance committee.
So these dusty motherfuckers were like, no, we shouldn't give pregnant people prenatal vitamins.
It just never got to a floor vote on the assembly side. We had a same as, just didn't go anywhere. The assembly was just like, nah, we're busy. I'm going to have assembly staffers beating the shit out of me when I get back, but it's okay.
Tell them to call me.
They
Tell them
fucking
to call
deserve
me.
it. Are you kidding? Like, this is like
So-
when federal Congress, like the Congress, like the Senate approved to banish daylight savings, and then the House of
Don't even.
Representatives like refused to vote on it
Don't
because
even get
it was
me
a
started.
fucking election year, and so then it died and it won't get revived, and like no one's doing it anymore because like
Oh, my
God
boss
forbid we
actually
give
wants to ban that in New York, so if that makes
regular
you feel
people
any better.
a
Can we
fucking
do
win.
that?
Yeah, so he has looked into getting rid of it in New York. That was, but then the whole federal thing happened. So then he pumped the brakes for a little bit. But he is highly interested in getting something like that done here in New York. Because like,
It's
oh
such
my
an
god,
easy fucking win. Like that's what pissed me off even at the federal level where
I
was
would
like,
vote for
the
somebody
fact that
forever.
it unanimously passed the Senate, like I'm not a huge fan of Marco Rubio, but like good on him for introducing that one. And like
I'd vote for a fucking Republican for the rest of my life if that meant that I
Yeah.
could get rid of daylight savings. I will
Right.
sacrifice one of my votes, and I will give my power attorney the ability to vote when I'm in my coma.
still vote for this guy. Come
Sarah's
hell or
gonna have
high
a
water.
coronary by the end of this.
she's never gonna record.
Shut
it.
the fuck up, guys.
I'm gonna have to have my lawyer put out like a retraction, just being like, I know this was said on the podcast, but we cannot agree to this whatsoever.
Stop telling people to do that.
So, okay, so the bill then gets reintroduced come 2024, right? Because we legislate odd to even,
Okay.
right? So the same bill can be introduced with the same number. You get it going, right? Okay, so it gets sent to insurance again, and now it sits here. And this is basically when you go to the committee director and you're like, hey, this bill passed last year. Can we get this going? Let's get it on an agenda. Let's get it moving. Right. Okay. So
The Senate
It
has to
then-
vote on it again then if it comes back up.
yeah. So that's
Okay.
basically right. Okay. So then here's a plot twist. It got so like how I said previously, it basically went to insurance and then it aged for 3 days and then we voted on it. Right. This year, it got reported in
bitches.
committee to finance. For no reason. My boss was like, what do you mean it got sent to finance? And I'm like,
Why would it
I
get
don't-
sent to finance?
Why?
That's a great question. I have no idea. I don't think I've gotten a full answer on why it got kicked to finance.
So it's
right.
because the insurance committee was like, oh no, this
Oh,
costs
there
too
could
much
be
money?
a fiscal on this. Let's send it over to finance to review it. Even though
Somebody's trying to kill it.
Yeah, it basically got amended in the insurance committee, so I think that they just like
Who
sent
is in
it.
Blue Cross Blue Shield's pocket?
I don't know.
Congress, because it's
I
a fucking vitamin.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, for pregnant people to just make sure that their babies are okay. Yeah, I don't. These are things that are just above my pay grade. That like I can't waste time thinking about why bills get sent to some committee. I don't.
I think what we might need is like a team of, pinky ring wearing, sweatsuit wearing, like people to intimidate. Like, hey, these babies need these
you're
fucking
from
vitamins.
Queens,
Can
you
we
know where to
pass
find those
this?
people,
Yeah,
right?
we got to work on that. There needs to be some intimidation practices. All I'm saying,
I'm not
in this
saying,
fair and equal society, we need some intimidation practices to get some shit passed.
We need that,
not-
and we also
wait.
need Gen Z to just tell me who we're voting for this November.
Right, so we'll get into that after I get through all of this bullshit. We'll get into like how to find an ideal candidate. We'll get into that. But so then it got sent to finance. Then you have to go to the finance committee and basically be like, yo, why is this bill in finance? Let's get it going. Blah blah blah. Like let's get
So
the
who does
ball
that? Do
rolling
you
here.
do that?
I can. Sometimes I have to break out the big guns on like, look, this was a priority bill for
What does
us
that mean?
like we wanna
Oh, be
that
rude.
means my boss.
Oh, okay.
So like when I really
Puts on
need
the
something
sweatsuit and
done.
the pinky ring.
Well, it's funny because I have a name plaque in my office that has my name, and then underneath it says "Making Laws and Breaking Jaws." So that was a gift from Emily. Yeah. So it's because I'm either saying something ridiculous or I'm literally fighting you. That's where that comes from.
I told you, I will give you $1 for every old man you punch.
I'll give
in
you
the chest.
$5. You'll get $6 per punch.
Wow, I can retire at that rate,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
But
You can crowdsource this.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. GoFundMe. And so you basically just go to the committee and being like, hey, what's the problem with this? What's the holdup? And then you basically they have to then, again, vote it out of committee. And then depending on where they want to send it next, it either goes back to the desk stage for 3 days, or it could also get sent somewhere else. Like, I don't know if there is, like, an exact flow chart that, like, has to follow. Like, it goes from here to here to here to here. Mm-hmm. If there is, I don't look at it. I just read where they go, because it's not up to me to decide where they end up going, so to speak. So then it basically got reported to finance. Finance voted it out. It went, and it sits on a desk for 3 days. It's been 3 days aging.
For the Pony Express, yes.
Yeah. And then so earlier this month, literally 6 days ago, it passed the Senate. We're waiting for the Assembly to basically pass it.
Again, it's on the Assembly.
Because
they
last
should,
time they were
so
like, we're really busy.
Yes, so
we hate babies.
And like what's crazy is that so like you can basically see like the history of this bill. It's been introduced every session since 2009. And so for the longest time, it only had an assembly bill until my boss basically picked it up in 2021 and introduced it then. And on that year, the assembly got it passed and we didn't get it passed. So then in 2023, we passed it.
15 years. 15
Well, yeah,
years.
That's basically what happened with, like, legalizing cannabis, too. Like, that bill, like, Liz Kruger was working on that bill for, like, the better part of the last decade, and Governor Cuomo was like, it's fucking my way or the highway. And that's why
that doesn't sound like him.
Get over here, let me diddle you.
That was basically how that worked out. So that's basically
crazy.
why, if it feels like bills never get passed, it's because it has to basically go through this long and annoying process. But, like, you could introduce a bill in the 2020-2021, right? Is that it? No, the 2021-2022 session. And then if you don't want to reintroduce it, then it just dies, basically.
Right, like
So,
if nobody's going to fight for it.
If nobody's going to basically pick it up. Like, that's the other thing, you have to have both in the exact same print. Like, they don't have to be on the same amendment level. So, like, I have a bill that's on, like, its C print, so it's been amended for the third time. But the assembly side isn't going to have a C print because they're introducing my amended print.
I can't imagine a worse job than having to compare the two and make sure they match.
Garrett, I'll send you a photo the next time I have these things up so you could see. Like, I'll pull it up when I get back from vacation and just show you what a shit show it is.
I would cause pure governmental chaos with that because I would never do it well.
Here's where a good advocate comes in. So I find it very helpful. Like, you know, a good advocate when they're like, oh, I'll send you the red line. So, like, they're sending me the amended text that they mark off exactly what lines, what words to delete. Yeah, and it's so much more helpful when somebody hands me the, hey, here's the text, can you just punch it into your computer, so to speak? That's a lot easier than me doing it myself. So if you are going to recommend amending bill language, send them the amended version, do the work yourself, save the staffer a step, and, like, you will be thanked. All the time.
Is this in some, like, weird... Ow!
Yes. Like, computer program, so to speak?
Yeah, so it's not like Microsoft Word where you can just do track changes.
Well, so you can. Like, that's kind of like
such
how...
a time saver.
That's kind of like you can, but it's just, like, that's almost like an extra step because you still have to, like, upload it to, like, our LRS system. So, like, which basically feels like a 1990s computer program, but, like, we won't... That's, again, above my
I mean, it looks like it based on the actual, like, the bill jackets I've looked at when it's on, like, typewriter font.
Yeah, that's
when you print it
standard.
out, do you have to pull the paper off the side of each?
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
We have a Xerox machine, but I will say my
original. A
I don't
Xerox
know.
1.
Probably.
Begging
But,
for death.
There are some things that do need, like, carbon copies of things. So, like, my boss's travel reimbursement forms, those are still in, like, carbon copies. Those are fun to fill out.
Jesus.
I can't
But
wait
so
for Gen Z
basically-
to hear something like this. They're like, what's
Oh
a
my
carbon
god.
copy?
The assembly
What are you,
side was
100?
still doing paper timesheets for like the longest time.
Kill me.
So we're talking about like
Kill
150
me.
assembly members and then their entire staff. So that's anywhere between like 3 to 7, maybe even 10 people, depending on your district, all on paper timesheets.
It's a no.
And like
for
to
me.
recently, like I want to say like COVID era, they basically were still using paper.
I mean, civil
Like-
service exams, until they passed that New York State helps, like, everybody was still
Yeah.
sitting and taking exams in a
Yeah.
school with a Scantron and a number 2 pencil. Like,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
year is it?
Yeah.
And you know, like, as
so-
a state employee, you can submit ideas to, like, there's an internal, like, department where you can be like, hey, I have this idea that could, like, change the way we're doing something. And sometimes they'll give you money. If you save, like, a certain percentage of money, they'll, like,
Wow.
so I was like, oh, fuck yeah. I'm going to submit a proposal to change our civil service testing to, like, fully digital, right? They wrote me a letter basically like, yeah, fuck you. We've heard that idea. No, thank you. And I was like,
haters.
real glad I took the time
Gary,
to write
the
this letter.
test proctor, said
Yeah.
no, that won't work.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And so there are people that just like come and lobby us year round, but mostly during the legislative session. So like Tuesdays are a big lobby day in Albany. It is a complete zoo. Every group that you could think of will try to make an appointment during the legislative session to try to meet with hopefully an actual elected official, if not somebody like me or an equal status staff member, essentially. And they'll come and they'll just like give you their like pitch. Hey, could your boss co-sponsor this bill? Hey, you know, this we're doing a budget request for this. And then every senator also sends out like budget letters that they'll send to their like the leader of either the Senate or the Assembly to be like, hey, I'm requesting these budget items. It's like hit or miss. There's no guarantee that like any of your letters will be included in the budget, that anything that you've signed on to support will get it in the budget. It's basically like we're just hacking at the wind here, so to speak. Whatever sticks, you know?
So, how do we pick a candidate?
How do we pick a candidate? Okay, so first of all, it's super helpful if you just like Google your local board of elections, so to speak. So like when people want to know like who's going to be on their ballot, like pull up your voter registration and see what district numbers you're in. Because if you don't even know your district numbers, it's going to be a lot harder to figure out who's running your race other than the ads or the texts that you might get. What I like to do, it's a little unconventional. I've gotten mixed reviews about my process. So, I'm weird.
I love
I'm
the
like,
endorsement. The endorsement leading up to it.
It's not a recommended.
They all
way, but
take
I
a
find
gooseneck
it-
and submit pictures of their buttholes, and then I just
Pass.
randomly pick.
So,
I'm sorry. I thought I had it out of my system, and I didn't.
Absolutely,
I had to
don't.
make another
You're gonna
I'm sorry.
talk about it for like the next week and a half. I can already tell.
And so basically, like
might.
I will find out who's going to be on my ballot. So it's like Ballotpedia is a good link for that.
I think that's what I use. Yeah.
It just gives you an idea of like who's running, their name, what parties that they're running on. Because you basically have obviously like your big two, the Dems, Republicans, but then you have things like the Conservative, Working Families. The Green Party.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a We
And
the
you can
People
like
line.
you can print a thing to bring into the ballot box with you when
Yeah,
you go to vote.
yeah. Yeah, like you definitely bring a little cheat sheet. I definitely recommend people doing that too,
Yeah, I've done
especially like
that.
if you can't remember. I like to do a quick little search on them. I like to try to pull up their social media, see what that's like. You know, if you have a campaign Instagram, I'm looking at that. But probably my most unconventional way, so to speak, is that I pull up campaign videos. And I like to know how people sound. Because
That's a good point.
if your voice is annoying, I don't want to listen to you talk for like 2 to 4 years.
Yeah.
So, like running for mayor, I like to see how people sound when talking. I try to find like old clips of you speaking at something, so I know what you sound like in public. If you're like a fucking idiot and like you can only read off like a sheet of paper.
I can't wait for a baby version of Sarah to be using this clip to be like, am I gonna vote for this person?
Basically, yeah. So when I'm running for office and people Google my name and
idiot.
they track down these videos and well, you know, they have Patreon, but if they basically
at that point we'll have been hacked. So.
Oh, that's true. So they'll pull up these podcast episodes and be like, "Wow, they sound wicked smart. I'm gonna go vote for them." Like that'll do it.
Yeah.
Wow, they hate the way that the government works, but they work there. I should vote for them.
These two, on the other hand, no.
I hope they don't
better
work for
at
her.
plugging in
Crossing them
a
up.
mic than Katie, that's for sure.
And so it's really just like
Or
if you don't like what they have to say, if you don't like how they sound, I wouldn't vote for them. Because, like, again, like, that's somebody
reasonable.
that I'm going to have to listen to at, like, local community board meetings. That they're the ones that I have to trust to make sure pass a good city budget. That I think that they're going to best represent me up in Albany, down in D.C. It's really just one of those, try to figure out what they sound like. So when you actually vote for them and you hear them on C-SPAN or like out of town hall, you're like, I voted for this fucking idiot. Like, oh my god,
who voted for this
How
guy? And you're like,
embarrassing.
oh, fuck, it was
and
me.
so like that's part of it. And then I also just like, once they're in office, I always judge them like on how they get stuff done. There was not for nothing, there's a state senator back home that 26% of his district just didn't vote for him. Like, they just left that. He ran unopposed, and 26%... No. And 26% of his district just didn't vote for him. And it's things like that that really speak volumes to
I
me.
think I would walk into traffic if I was running unopposed and 26% of my constituents were like, no.
26% of voters did not vote for you.
That's rough. That's a rough one.
So, like, that tells me that you're probably not doing a great job locally. Like, you might pass good bills, but then on the other hand, we had a local guy that he lost his election basically due to the fact that he never passed any bills. He literally he was incumbent Dem that just, like, would just never get bills passed, and so they kicked him.
Yeah. Good.
So, like, you have to have, like, the right balance of, like, being effective without being, like, overbearing or, like, doing too much.
Right.
And then, but also, like, not doing, like, too much. Because, like, just because, like, you're swinging for the stars does not mean that you're going to get anywhere near the moon. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And, like, you're never going to win over everybody. But, like...
Especially now. Like, things
but,
are
like,
just,
if 26% of voters just are choosing not to vote for you, like... That's a lot. That's a lot. And, like, we're talking about in Queens. So, like, it's not even, like, 26% of, like, 1,000 people that are voting in, like, an upstate New York election, so to speak.
Right, where it's,
we're
like,
talking
super
about,
spread
like, a
out.
high dense... Yeah, we're talking about, like, a highly dense, high turnout election.
Right.
And 26%...
That's embarrassing.
It is.
I feel like that's what's going to happen this November.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I mean, however... I think the attitude towards government right now is so bad, and people feel like everyone is so ineffective, which obviously, like, hearing some of the pathways that this legislation takes, like, yeah, there's a lot that gets bogged down. There's a lot of red tape for sure. But then to, like, get people to, like, really passionately back candidates that have already, like, disappointed everybody in some measure.
Basically said, go fuck yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, like...
It's hard. And then, but, like, then I also, like, think about, like, there are people like me that work for Congress that are probably, like, just trying to, like, do their best. But,
trying
like, they
so
just,
hard.
But they just are just in a really shitty situation that they have no power to change either.
Imagine
And so-
trying to work with Marjorie Taylor Greene's staff.
Kill me, shoot me. That's what I mean. Like, I would not last. I would not last 10 minutes down there.
Holy shit!
You know, like at least in New York, we can all agree that New York is if not the best state, it's one of the best states in general. Like, I will take like New York or nothing, New York or Europe. That's basically where I'm at this point. Like, if
Have
I
you
can't
considered Florida?
pass, I won't even give Florida my tourism
But look,
money
they
anymore.
only work for 3 months every other year or whatever the fuck you said.
And like, so like, and then that's the other thing. It's crazy to think about how there are so many states that they're not even legislating right now, but also just there's over 500 anti-LGBT bills in the U.S. right now, and considering that how many states aren't in session, and yet some of these bills are still sitting on like a governor's desk because of that, it's just like, that's absolutely batshit crazy.
Yeah. Fuck the babies. Fuck the gays. Fuck anybody pregnant. Fuck people that don't want garbage and diapers thrown on their house. Fuck them too.
Yep. And
Just
so,
like,
and
holy
then
shit.
so like, this is why people hate the government, is because they also just like don't now. Like, I actually do know why now people like in all those flyover states hate their fucking government, because you guys don't have one.
Yeah,
you have one that's
true.
like, you have one that's maybe active for like 3 months every 24 months. That like
Maybe
they're
that's
active
why,
6
like,
months.
Yeah.
That's the counterpoint to being like, why are property taxes so high? Well, we do have a functioning government.
Yeah.
You may not like how it functions, and we do have a lot
But
of
yeah.
potholes, but they are
At least
here.
there's people working.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, and there's people, you know, candidates going to town halls and
so it keeps
meeting
and
with
so
constituents.
That's what makes our 2-year elections like that much more valuable, because if you don't like what somebody's trying to get done in a 2-year span, you vote them out. You run against them, you find somebody that will run against them, and you vote them out. And so that's the other problem, is that every 2 years you then, even if like your bill got passed, if the assembly or, you know, the other side didn't do it, you have to start over. Like, I have to reintroduce like 100 bills come January. Well, maybe like 95 if my top 5 get passed, but like
Like,
I have
literally that many?
like literally, I think my Google sheet we have like 90 something regular bills, and then like maybe like 20 gaming bills, 30 gaming bills.
I would never make it. I can't prioritize
I mean,
that many things.
I just send an email. Like, it's really just that. It gets sent to me. I have like a little cheat sheet.
I'm bad at that too.
I have like a little cheat sheet that like it
Garrett
tells me
almost
where
never
things.
sends emails.
Hate emails. Actually,
But
people
yeah,
sometimes will
so-
email me, I don't respond, and then they text me. And then I respond 2 business days later.
Yeah, so this is
Sorry,
like my first
everybody.
time ever that I have like
And
my
then
out
Sarah's
of
like,
office.
this wouldn't happen if you had red receipts.
That's only in my text. I feel like if people got notified when I opened
Red
their
receipts
email.
on emails should be outlawed.
Yeah,
I used
that
to
should
I would
banned.
be like, don't notify them. Don't tell them that I read it.
Yeah.
There's only one person in my office that I deal with, and they're fine. Like, I don't have a problem with them, but like, they'll shoot me a quick question, like truly a quick question, like, hey, did you mean X or Y? When I ask them to do something, they want a red receipt on that email, and I'm like, okay, cool it on the red
Banned.
receipts.
Literally never.
Banned. See,
Like, also,
that should
aren't
be
you
banned.
getting annoyed, getting notified of every open
I would.
email?
Yes.
And so I will say though, like, as like out of date our system feels, I can set like an internal alert for any time that one of our top bills moves. So I can set an alert to, like, that prenatal vitamins bill. I got an alert every time that it moved.
For 15
So-
years, it's like, we're trying
Well,
again.
no, I wasn't doing that. But
Just
like
the
for
little
this
engine that
session,
could.
just for like this session.
It's like the prenatal
There wasn't
bill
a
is the
Senate-
old train that's like, I just can't. I can't do it, boss. I can't get
I've
up
got
the
a
hill.
cover now, but I can't get up this fucking hill.
I'm full of diapers. I can't do it. It's too
Full of
heavy.
Old man diapers, not even baby diapers, because I can't have a prenatal vitamin.
Vile.
Yeah, so it's literally just like
Vile.
that's what I think makes people really frustrated with government, is that a lot of people just don't know how it works, or like who to
Yes.
call, or Literally, I used to literally complain to my boss about shit back home all the time. Be like, well, I'm calling my state senator. Like, I'd be on my cell with him and being like, there's this pothole at the bottom of my street that almost broke my tire. Like, and he'd be like, okay, so what are you going to do about it? I'm like, I don't know. I'm calling my state senator about it. And it's just me. Like, I'm calling me.
To call myself. I have to set a reminder on my calendar.
But then, like, I have,
hey,
like,
Leslie, it's Leslie. Be brave.
Yeah, so to speak. But then, like, I'll have, like, my dad or, like, my mom will, like, text me about something, and I'm like, I'm off the clock. You can send me an email about it. Like, I don't know what to
Mom.
Like, I don't know what to tell you. I can't.
This is the episode where your parents realize you've also turned off read receipts for your parents.
Well, my mom doesn't have an iPhone, so she doesn't get them anyway. And then I don't think my dad knows what a read receipt is.
You know what, though? It's like, I think a huge part of people's frustration is, like, not understanding how things function. Like, I remember in 2020, very early in the process when people started talking about the absentee ballots, and I was talking to somebody at work, and he was very conservative, and he looked at me and he's like, they found a bag of ballots in a river in Pennsylvania. I said, they debunked that 2 weeks ago, and you need to diversify your news sources.
Yeah.
Like NPR did a whole, I remember, like, during that time, because I'm an NPR nerd, and I actually listened to WNYC as, like, my preferred station, but they did this whole, like, deep dive on the chain of, like, custody of ballots. And, like, okay, and then it goes to this checks and balances. And then these people check them and sign off on them. And then they go to this group, and these people check them and sign off on them. And I was like, if people understood that, you would understand how secure this process is. Or, you know, you wouldn't, like, with the education and people understanding civics, it breaks down so many of the conspiracy theories where people are like, oh, well, you know, there's a baby eating cabal in the basement of Pizza Hut, and you got to be careful of that. Like, then you would understand.
That's what a supreme pizza is.
That's what the meat lover's pizza is. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Sarah.
I'm sorry that we've ruined your episode, Sarah. I think we did this last time, too.
I feel like
but
this
I'm
is
sorry
on brand.
again.
This is totally on brand. What are you talking
Oh,
about?
it is very on brand, but we are
The
also
bar's
still
only
sorry.
ankle high. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's in hell.
I'll be honest, we are, like, usually a fraction better. Like, there's not too much editing that usually happens these days, but this was a tough one.
I can't wait for that statement to get fact-checked, by the way. We need, like, that PolitiFact thing at the bottom, like, not true. Partially true.
I think that that's also, like, a big part of, like, what the problem is also, is that, like, people just believe the shit that they read on the internet and on Facebook, and if it's not in a TikTok video, it's not real, and
people gotta touch grass.
Andrew Tate is the word of God, you know, like, it depends on, like, how deep you're willing to, like, really get into all of this, so to speak. Like,
and not being involved politically is a privilege. Like, not being a political person is a privilege.
Yeah, like, it must be nice. Like, it really, like, I said this to people, like, back in, like, 2020. Like, it must be nice to, like, not be at risk of, like, your marriage being, like, invalidated. Like, that, what a privilege that is. That, like, I literally couldn't legally get married to whoever I wanted before, what was it, like, 2015
or something?
Yeah, it was like 2012, I think, in New York, or, like, 2010. Yes. Yeah, my boss voted no on that the first time around, and then voted because we had a crazy constituent base. Oh, that was one of the questions I asked when he was hiring me. Why did you vote no on gay marriage the first time around? I made him explain it to me. He did a survey of our constituents, and they were like, no, you can't.
So he was literally trying to represent his constituents.
Yeah. So he did, and then by 2010,
I guess I'll allow it, but
that's also why we have a representative democracy, because we're supposed to have representatives who are like, oh, my constituents are fucking.
Yeah, and so, like, that's kind of like the case now with, like, the death with dignity bill.
The bigots.
Yeah, I mean, if I sent you the 2016 map, you'd be like, you live there? That's in Queens.
Well, one of your episodes last year was called Big Ass Pimple District, so...
Oh, right, yeah, that's because it's a big red dot in the middle of Queens, You're right. Yeah, I can't say that it's gotten much better since then. But I don't live there anymore, so
Sorry, Queens, not really.
It's not really my problem anymore.
Yeah.
I live in the capital district where things are just so much better here, and I don't see any Trump flags ever, or a nice "Let's Go Brandon" sign. And
I saw a "Let's Go Brandon" sticker on the back of like one of those CDTA supervisor Jeeps the other day, and
What?
I was like, "Yeah, it was real weird."
I would
have taken a photo of the license plate and reported it.
Well, so I didn't
think I
know
would
it was
have,
the
too.
supervisor vehicle because first of all there was this, but then on the back it just said like A103, so it didn't actually say like CD. So by the time I like got past them, I was like driving. Yeah. So I couldn't see it, but I was like, what in God? Like, they convert a personal vehicle? Like, why are there bumper stickers on this at all?
Yeah, or like that isn't just like an I Heart New York bumper sticker or something, or like Upstate AF bumper sticker, like
like a Lake George outline or decal.
Yeah.
Or the bird shit
It was
ones.
so bizarre. I was just like so confused.
Yeah.
The whole thing, it was just very bizarre. But
I like when
I saw
it's when they started the Good Liars or whatever, they were at a Trump rally and they started a "Let's fuck Brandon" chat. Let's fuck Brandon, and they were initially like, "Yeah, wait, no,
well, no, that's not what we want at all. No,
that's not what I want.
No,
I don't want to do that.
I want to do that, but I don't want people to know that that's what I want to do.
I only want to do that in private.
Yeah.
I wear leather vests and go to Judas Priest concerts. Tune into Patreon.
I can't believe Rob Halford and his very long fringe on his jacket. He's just still wearing all the leather.
You know that he does it so that when he twirls, it like flutters in the wind and he feels pretty.
Yes.
Because that's why I would wear fringe like that.
I love that he's
Me
like
too.
the metal version of like Mr. Mistopheles from Cats. Like he's got the black suit on and he's just like it's like just like such a like fabulous outfit that he's wearing. Like it's just so over the top.
Yeah.
So he's really like actually
Spinal Tap.
a junkyard cat that is very limber and dances. I don't actually know that he's limber. PK is going to have to confirm
To be
that.
fair, yeah, I don't know. He took videos of people dancing in the mosh pit.
Oh, mosh pits. It's been so
Too
long.
old for that.
Yeah, I'm not cut out for
like,
it anymore.
I feel like I'm too old to last more than like a song, but then like being surrounded by that many sweaty people again. That's just not the vibe for my 30s anymore. Like that was fun in like my 20s.
I'm trying to think. So we went to a concert in the city. Were we at the Bowery? I don't remember where we went. Hammerstein, maybe?
One of those, one of the classics. You could just say that.
And I'm standing there and I'm like, I used to like go to, and it was pouring rain. It was like cold outside. And I'm like, I used to go to these places without a coat because I didn't want to hold a coat while I was at a show.
Or do a coat check. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no. First of all, broke as fuck. Second of all,
Right.
I didn't want to have to carry my coat. And it was like not cool. It wasn't punk to be in a coat. So I would like go in and we're like in this place and everybody's like packed in. I'm like, I used to stand for hours seeing these concerts.
Gate. Yeah.
And I am literally like in the back. And we got like, I don't know, like halfway through Bad Religion set. And I was like, I think I'm good. We should go. I'm sleepy. And my back hurts from standing. So it's also hot in here and I'm uncomfortable and I want my coat back on. And my socks got wet when I was walking here.
That's an immediate no.
Like, I don't know how I used to do this for like hours on end.
No.
You're just sitting there with like your fingers out, like you're sticky.
I used to go to this really scummy club to see concerts, and one time I went and the bathrooms had overflowed and there was just toilet water on the floors and the ceiling was also leaking and was dripping on my head while I was standing there.
Immediate no.
And so the story is that you saw the overflowing toilets and you stayed in that room.
All of us did. Yes. We all stayed there and watched the show, and
But
there was moshing in the toilet water. I wasn't moshing in the toilet water, but there was moshing in the toilet water.
Oh, I thought in the bathroom was where it was leaking on your head, and I was like, so you saw the overflowing bathrooms and you were like, it's okay, I'll still use it.
No, it was like dripping elsewhere.
Gotcha.
And there was toilet water on the floor.
My teenage bladder was like, I'll just wait until I get home to pee. Which now No. In no world. In no world. No. But yeah, no, it's real humbling, and it makes you feel real old to go to a concert as an adult.
I need a chair now.
Yeah.
I need a chair.
Like an Advil.
And I need to know what the parking situation is. Yeah. Oh, I'm taking like Tylenol beforehand and having like a half of a Pedialyte bottle before, and then the second half when I get home.
Mm-hmm. Do you have the earplugs that protect your hearing?
My hearing's already done, so it doesn't really matter at this point.
Oh, I used to stand in front of the amps at these concerts. So like now I have the earplugs that protect them.
I'm in the back by the bar now, so it doesn't.
Yeah, it's safer.
Yeah, that's.
I remember getting Along Came Polly. Like I got a sweaty chest, and then I got kicked in the face by the same chest. Foot right to the face.
Yeah, so I've gotten like a straight up like foot to the back of my head from somebody crowd surfing.
Yes. Oh,
like it was like a big surfing? like a thick DC like skater at knee shoe that it was like the big.
Oh my god, and they're so
bottom.
smelly.
Yes.
They were just always the smelliest, grossest, like those big, thick.
Yeah, and then like the guys with their no shirts on, and they're like extra sweaty because like they don't even have a shirt on, so it's like their whole back, and then
they're even sweatier.
Yes.
Hydrate, like go get a drink.
I
would hate when they would throw like a water bottle also, and you get like a drip from that. I'm like, ick.
Yes.
Pass.
Really, and that was some of the sickest I ever got. Like as a teenager, I would go to a concert and then get really sick after.
Mystery.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I don't even know how I was doing it. I'm so impressed with the little version of me that I was like so tough that I think
the pandemic also just really grossed me out of like so many things. Like we went bowling for the first time last night since the pandemic because it just grossed.
Yes. Remember how dirty we got when we went bowling for my birthday that year? And that wasn't even regular bowling. We did candlestick bowling. So we weren't even putting our fingers in the holes, right?
Right.
Yeah.
There was no fingering of holes when we were bowling. You were just holding the balls.
Yeah. Yeah, but like my hand, I remember like going to the bathroom and washing my hands before going to the bathroom because my hands...
Yeah, it's just so gross. Yeah. I didn't even use the bathroom.
And it was
while
for
we were
sure
at the
not something
alley.
I ever considered before the pandemic.
No.
Like, I mean, I knew it was gross, but like it wasn't like gross enough to stop me from doing it.
Yes. I think that's where I was with a lot of things. Like things have just been, I'm just too aware of how gross everything is now.
Getting old is not always fun. Sometimes it's fun.
Being responsible is not fun.
Sometimes I'm like,
you have
look
to
at
actually
me.
plan things out.
Yeah. And now I'm like, I don't want to do that. Yep. I don't want to send that email. I have to make a phone call to a pharmaceutical company, and I've had to do it for like 2 weeks, and I haven't done it yet. Because I don't want to do it. I hate phone calls. And I know it's going to take a long time, and I don't want to do it. Like, it's so little time where I'm not, like, doing 100 things at once. Like, the time I do get, I don't want to make a fucking phone call. Planet bullshit is what that is. But anyway, that was a very helpful
thanks for
I'm trying
with us.
Things.
Sorry.
But, right, okay, so let me just
up
to
your notes.
Oh my god, stop. As if like my notes are just a guide. And like let's not pretend like I didn't finish typing these out yesterday and this morning at like 7 a.m. So
listen,
Sarah, that's like
how all our episodes happen.
How my
yes,
go.
but
all of
my podcast notes got done before I finished packing, so whoever bet on that was the winner. But just to finalize here in New York, just so everybody's clear, the upcoming elections, this is where it gets really important. Our primary for our federal, state, and local offices is on June 25th. So literally less than a month away from today, you are going and you're voting in your primaries. Early voting is from June 15th to June 23rd. If you don't want to literally go on the election day and go vote, definitely go to early voting. You can literally Google your county and then elections, and you'll be able to find your state office that handles your elections. Me too.
It's the best.
I like just
Greatest
going out
thing.
very late, and it's an easy peasy thing. But it's very important to vote in your primaries because then that's who's going to be in your general election, which is November 5th, which is also a Tuesday. And that, again, is for all of your federal, state, and local offices. And early voting is from October 26th to November 3rd. And that's when we will decide what kind of rest of the 20s we will be having, because this election will get us to 2028, which is a terrifying thought. Yeah, right? And you can basically find like who's on your ballot by going to your state board of elections website, and there should be a spot for you to look up your voter registration info to find out where your polling place is, but to also figure out who's going to be on your ballot and what districts that you're in, which will make going to vote a lot easier, because most times it's based up by your district numbers or like your assembly districts, depending on how your state is set up.
And New York State is a stupid state in that we still have closed primaries, so you can only vote in your own registered party's primary.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't be like me and accidentally illegally vote in a caucus because you didn't realize your registration.
Yeah, and then that's the other thing. You'll be able to check your voter registration to make sure that your voter registration is up to date and to make sure that your voter rolls didn't just magically disappear, which does happen in other places, so to speak. That like
or
your
if
voting
you moved,
history,
that you're in updated your address and you're in the right district.
Yes, and then if you're not registered to vote, you should definitely go register to vote, because these people pass laws and enact budgets that drastically change lives. It helps keep our schools functioning. It helps keep veteran centers and senior centers up to date and functioning. And as much as we fucking hate the government sometimes, if they aren't there to do it, who else is? And I would definitely encourage people that if you are trying to run for office, there are organizations that will help you out. I believe that there's one called Run for Something. It's focused a lot more on like the local level, so like your school boards and your city councils and things like that, because if we've learned anything, that's where a lot of people are getting their starts. They join as a school board member, which then kind of gives them a little bit of credibility going into bigger local and state elections. And then that's how you have Moms for Liberty now running for Congress and state reps like that. So
I was thinking more of Colin Robinson, but okay.
That too.
My son Christopher. Full of the Dickens.
And so it is definitely vital to make sure that you know who's running your local government, because that's when your libraries disappear and your schools don't have funding, and how athletic programs get cut, and how local colleges and universities don't get funding, and how your streets don't get their potholes filled. And it basically is an endless cycle. And definitely 1000% call and bug your local reps, because they're the ones that have the power to get that pothole fixed, to get that manhole cover fixed. It's not
or send you in the right direction.
Or that's the other thing, or to at least know who to complain to get this fixed. Mm-hmm. Because it's not the guy down in DC, it's not the guy in the White House, it's not the fucking Speaker of the House that is going to come and fix your shit. It's your local town board that is going to make sure that there's funding to plow your streets during the winter. Like, they have more power over what happens in your local town than anyone in DC ever will.
Well, and I think that's there's so much attention paid to the big races, and there's so much attention paid to national politics that I think sometimes people forget that, like, it happens on such a fundamental level, like, in your community every day. And when you get kind of disconnected from local government, I think you forget, like, all of these working pieces that kind of all have to work together. And it can be daunting. And I think it does seem like impossible, but local politics, I think they have the ability to be so much more effective because it is smaller scale. Like, I need to fix this for this neighborhood as opposed to I need to get 600 people in this organization to agree that we all need to do this.
Yeah.
And give babies fucking vitamins, or stop babies from getting shot in school, or, you know, keep people from, you know, preventing others from accessing care, whatever it is. Like,
mental health resources,
right?
You know, anything along those lines. It's definitely going to be way more accessible and effective on a local level, because as we see, this Congress isn't doing shit to help anybody realistically.
Can't even get rid of
Other
daylight
than
fucking savings
I
times,
mean,
these
either
dusty
it's just either that or
assholes.
it's just like it's all. This has got to be like a bit, right? Like this is a joke. They're gonna like when this Congress is done, they're gonna be like, haha, wasn't that such a great reality show that you guys just fell for?
I've heard that
people...
Veep is like very accurate to
I
working
believe it.
in federal. I haven't watched Veep, but like
it's on my
that's
list.
been
Yeah,
I've
maybe
seen
I'll
a
download
few
that.
episodes. It's very funny.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a lot
That's
of
like
are
Parks
you
and
fucking
Rec.
kidding me?
Yeah.
Yes.
And so that's basically it. Like you can definitely affect more change on a local level. You can go get that trash train covered, whether it's, immediately in effect or not. Like if you just keep bugging the shit out of your local government, you'll get that stuff fixed. It just
Stop your local diaper barge from
it
ruining
just
your community.
might take 4
Garrett,
years
2020.
for it might just take like 4 to 10 years for a bill to actually get passed and signed into law. But that doesn't mean that you should stop bugging them. So
Well, and I think especially after 2020 and after that election and the last really since 2016, like the last 8 years with fucking orange. It's so easy to feel discouraged that I think that local politics is a little bit more bite-sized. Like you can approach things, you can reach people. Like I am never gonna call Kirsten Gillibrand's office and talk to Kirsten.
It would be a waste of time. That's the other thing.
Right.
It would also most times it would be a complete waste of time because I mean, trust me, I've definitely contacted our local congressman about I don't know the Adderall shortage that is fucking up everybody's life, and they're kind of just like. And I'm like, what are you doing about it?
Making drugs is hard. We gotta plant these meth seeds.
Yeah, we're just waiting for the meth trees to grow back. We had to cut them down.
Yeah, no, it's
We're
definitely
using that
like
for affordable housing. These meth trees.
and
Yes.
not to let these shitty old men make you feel like things aren't worth fighting for because they're worth fighting for.
Yeah, it's really just, and then that's the other thing. If you don't like them, run against them. It's a lot of paperwork and it's a lot of financial fundraising. But if you find the right guy or the right person that can basically help you in that process, there are orgs that can help you with that process. Run against them. Make them work for it. Don't let them run unopposed because that just gives them all the power and the ability to be like, oh well, I don't have anything to really fight for other than how comfortable I'm sitting up and make them work for it. Make them definitely ask them tough questions at local meetings. Like call their office, stop by their office, email them, see how long it takes them to get back. If you're not getting the right answer, keep bugging the shit out of them nonstop until they at least acknowledge your existence or they solve the problem. Whatever happens first, because sometimes the squeaky wheel does get the oil,
And we're annoying, so...
shut up,
if
okay?
If there's one thing we stand for, it's making old men really annoyed.
Which is why,
annoying,
Which is why I also think that, people with ADHD would run a ineffective, effective government. We would need neurotypical people to do all the paperwork, but in terms of seeking out justice and, being no, but we need to get this done because it's important...
I gotta do it right now before I forget about it. We gotta pass it.
And that's why you have to have the neurotypical staff members to help us keep on track. Yes. But, it would be effective because we all have this, sense of justice to, fix things that need fixing.
Yeah. Just, generally, let's not make things worse for people.
Yeah.
Samuel Alito, you piece of shit. Sorry.
And so that's basically the gist of it, though.
Well, thank you for, spending your morning with us on a Sunday before you leave the country. But
before you flee.
Stress pack after this.
But before we sign off, make sure that you are following us on Instagram and Threads at The Bar is Ankle High. We're on TikTok at Ankle High Pod. We have merch at bit.ly/Ankle High Merch. No, I have not designed the hats yet. And since it was Sarah,
that was Sarah. That's right.
That's right.
That's right. The hats.
And you can support us by leaving us a 5-star review wherever you find us, especially Apple Podcasts. If you write out a review, it just is super duper helpful.
And we love it.
This month is when Google Podcasts stops being available like internationally. But you can listen to us on YouTube Podcasts or Pocket Casts or anywhere else. And so just make sure that you're subscribed on your new podcast listening platform if you were a Google Podcast listener previously. And you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/thebarIsankleHigh to get ad-free, extended, and video episodes, as well as an on-air shout-out and some extra goodies in the mail. And you get added to our close friends list on Instagram. So
I think you should just go do that instead of having to download a new random podcast app. You should just join the Patreon and be a part of the chaos.
You get it all.
Yeah,
You
it's
get all of
honestly
it.
the best $5 you'll probably spend every month. So
I love that.
yeah, and I say that because I spend the $5 every month, so it's worth it.
Actually, so do we.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's worth the content. It's honestly worth the video content, I will say. It's definitely
you do
worth
love
the extra.
videos.
It's just added. It's just like it really does make it like worth it.
I think it is better when you get the facial expressions that we make at each other. That was fucking stupid face. Before we continue on to our next point.
Or the is my mic working face of just like a, and then
What was that
Katie
face like?
sniffing, Katie sniffing the mic. One episode like that was a good one.
Yeah, I like that.
Worth
That's
it.
great.
Worth the content. Totally worth the
Because
content.
of Sophie's butthole rubbing.
I'm really glad that was rubbing and not rubbing. Rubbing.
Rubbing.
Oh my god.
Oh, there's a bug on my ceiling. Anyway, the meds are wearing off, and
I know. I feel like mine's really kicking in now, especially with all the caffeine. That I'm like, ooh, can't wait to go do things now. I've been in this seat for too long.
So yeah, I guess until next week, make things hard for people who have had their jobs for too long by calling them all the time.
Hold them accountable and make them transparent.
And don't forget to go vote, because that's how we stop these people from having so much power. And if you don't like them, definitely let them know, because I vote for you. That's how you keep your job. That's what people tell
Punch an
my
old
boss.
senator in the face.
And cover your local diaper barge. Because the bar is ankle.
Because the bar is ankle.